All hail, great and glorious rising. Welcome. All hail, great and glorious rising. Welcome. I am Reverend Lady Mother Sandra Addison-Britto, and this is Sunday, March the 16th. It is the third Sunday in the month, and this is our News from the Heart Sunday. Every third Sunday, our team comes and presents to you a framing of what's happening in our world, something new, something old, something different, something exciting, inspiring, to help us get a better view of ourselves and our world. So today we call it News from the Heart with music from the heart. So our team, Vatina, Brenda, Nadia will be sharing, and as always, Wesley will be sharing music from the heart. So as we begin, I just want to invite you to hit like and share. Let someone know that we're here live, Triumph the Church of the New Age. We're live streaming today on Facebook. You can catch us later on our Zoom channel at Triumph Life Center. But let someone know that we're here. The information that's going to be shared, the news, the stories are going to be inspiring. And I'm sure you don't want to miss this. We have as we begin today, I want to just encourage each of you to just ground yourselves in this moment, as chaotic as it may be in our world. So much is up and down and sideways and backwards. So we don't know truth from lies, fact from fiction, but we do know the God that lives within us. Yes, we do know the spirit of life and love that abides on the inside of us. And so I encourage you and urge you to go within, to seek that space within that we often say here at Triumph, as we quote Eckhart Meiker, I believe it is, who says that there is a place in your soul where you have never been wounded. And we say, seek to find that place. The chaos out in the world, although it does impact us, it does not have to change us for the worse. We can reface whatever we're dealing with in this moment with joy, with love, with hope, with faith, with trust in God, the God that lives on the inside of us, the God that within greater is that's within us than that which is in the world. So be mindful of that as we delve into today. Bring your cup of joy. Whatever you're dealing with, sickness, sorrow, death, loss of employment, housing insecurity, whatever you're dealing with, bring that with you today and allow this time with us to just spark something in you, to lift that burden, to help you see the world in a little different view. If you change your perspective, you'll change your ability to rise above what is happening in the world. So I invite you to just stay tuned. Wesley is coming now. He's going to set the pace for us with music from the heart. And I'm going to just welcome him all the way from California. Welcome, Wesley. Thanks for being here, as always.
Thanks for having me always. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, I love it, Wesley. The Christ in me celebrates the Christ in you. Together, we will make our world brand new. Yes, I shade to that. Welcome back to Triumph the Church's New Age. I'm Lady Mother Sandra Addison-Britto, and we are live streaming on Facebook today. I will be back in person at the 950 Bergen Street next week. But today, join us here. Don't go anywhere, just stay with us because today is our special segment called News from the Heart. Our team is presenting today on some exciting topics. One of them I have not heard of before, so I'm really interested in hearing more about it. And the others are just intriguing, dealing with what's happening today globally and celebrating Women's History Month. So we thank you for being here with us today. We're going to get started. We don't want to delay the time. We're going to have our meditation to ground us with Brenda, followed by our opening prayer. And then our scripture reading will be coming from Romans. I'll share that. I'll share the scripture, the prayer, the scripture, and the quote. Brenda will do the meditation, and then I'll be back with our Triumph submission. All right, Brenda, how are you today?
I'm really good today. I feel good. It's warm out. I feel kind of hot even.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. Let's begin with our breath. Take a moment to just check in with yourself and breathe. A nice inhale and an even nicer exhale. An inhale and an exhale. And just take a moment, continue to focus on this breath, particularly the exhale. Do your best to extend your exhale as long as possible. When you extend your exhale, it helps you to calm yourself. It signals to your body that you are safe, that there is no threat, that you are in a state of being where it is safe to catch your breath. The feelings of anxiety and worry and panic that we as humans often experience are very stressful to the physical form. Not only are you managing the ruminating thoughts, but you're also managing the physiological change within yourself. And know that the breath is one of the greatest, simplest tools that we have to cue ourselves, to remind ourselves, I am safe. I am safe. You might consider creating an affirmation or a mantra to use during your cycle of breath, all the while remembering that that breath is signaling your physiological form. Take it down a little. And as I breathe, it's okay to let the mind wander a little bit. I like to think about the energy surrounding my body from head to toe, the energy that reaches up above my crown and down below the soles of my feet. And I envision that bubble, that force field, that blanket, that glow, that aura. I envision what it would look like visually. And then I watch it expand, 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 so it fills the room. It continues to push down into the earth and up into the sky. And I envision it opening up even more. Now it's around my home, the building I'm in, the office I'm in, the apartment I'm in. I envision that energy surrounding me and the structure I'm in, and everyone else that's in the structure too. And then I expand further out and I envision my bubble surrounding everyone on my street, on my block, in the yard, all the trees and the creatures, the people in the cars, people walking on the sidewalk. I envision our safety. I pray for our safety. And I imagine that force field protecting us. And then I zoom out even further to my town, my neighborhood. You might envision a map in your mind or some of your favorite streets or parks or spots in your area. And I envision that bubble protecting and holding sacred that space. You might zoom out even further, envision the state that you're living in, the country that you're in, the territory, however you'd like to call it. And I pray for our safety. I breathe on it. I send the energy that's rooted from the earth all the way to the edges of that protective bubble surrounding our nation, and pray for our safety. Until ultimately, I envision the globe, the earth, the planet, Pachamama, all of humanity on one rock. And I envision even a bubble around that, the largest one I could ever imagine, strong. It kind of reminds me of the ozone layer. But to each corner of the earth, to each human spirit, to each plant, I envision myself sending some of that rooted love and energy right to them. And then I remember myself, my physical form, and how small I really am. But even still, I believe that that energy, that thought that I put into it is powerful, it matters. And imagine if we do it all at once, what that could bring. I'll lead us through our prayer. Take a nice deep breath and let us pray. God of surprises, you call us from the narrowness of our traditions to new ways of being church, from the captivities of our culture to creative witness for justice, from the smallness of our horizons to the bigness of your vision. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to freedom and renewed faith. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to wholeness and integrity. Great Spirit, You call us from fear to faithfulness, from clutter to clarity, from a desire to control to deeper trust, from the refusal to love to a readiness to risk. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might all know the beauty and power and danger of the gospel.
Okay,
Ashe.
and amen. Thank you, Brenda. Yes, I know our current world, the country and globally doesn't feel like a safe place. But as Brenda invited us to do in the meditation, we can envision that safe space, that safe place. It is within us. It's within our power to see it, to nurture it, to envision it, to create it, if we hold it collectively in our thoughts. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for the opening prayer. I'm going to share our sacred text from today. It's coming from the New Testament, the book of Romans, the 8th chapter, the 22nd and 20 through the 25th verse. And this is a slight variation on the Message Bible rendition, and it is the SYAB version of this text. So I invite you to listen. All around us, we observe a pregnant creation. The difficult times of pain throughout the world are simply birth pangs. But it's not only around us, it is within us. The spirit of Goddess is arousing us within. We are also feeling the birth pangs. These sterile and barren bodies of ours are yearning for full deliverance. That is why waiting does not diminish us any more than waiting diminishes a pregnant mother. We are enlarged in the waiting. We, of course, don't see what is enlarging us, but the longer we wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectation. Romans, according to Sandra Addison-Britto, 8:22 through 25. Our thought for today comes from Maya Angelou, and it says, "A wise woman wishes to be no one's enemy. A wise woman refuses to be anyone's victim." Meditate on those things. I'm going to share our Triumph mission today. And so we normally read or share our 7 life-affirming principles, but today I'm going to share our mission statement. Triumph the Church of the New Age's mission is to interactively encourage and challenge each one to make a meaningful impact on the lives of people in our communities. We strive to no longer conform to unjust systems, but to transform our community into a place of love, justice, mercy, truth, peace, trust, and wholeness. One, to declare the unlimited and irrevocable love of the eternal one we call Christ. The universal source, understood to be the life principle, which is also known by many different names: God, nature, Buddha, the universe, universal mind, universal consciousness, etc., etc., etc. 2, to be the Christ or that eternal one here on earth through acts of justice and compassion. And three, for the education of the whole person, so that together we shall transform ourselves and our world. Ashe and amen. All right, take a breath, everyone. Get a sip of your coffee, your tea, your smoothie, your juice, and get ready. I'm getting ready to introduce our News from the Heart segment featuring Brenda, Nadia, and Vatina. They're all team members here at Triumph since 2019, over 5 years. And they're going to be presenting on some very interesting topics. This may not be the order they're coming in, but Brenda is presenting on, I hope I say this right, on polyvagal theory. If I didn't, Brenda will correct me. Polyvagal theory. Vatina is going to be presenting on the loneliness epidemic, which I understand has been declared a global health concern. And then Nadia is going to share with us about women in history, because we are celebrating Women's History all month. Okay, are we ready? Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right. I'm ready. Wesley's going to lead out with music from the heart. And between each segment, we're going to take a breath. And Wesley's going to just allow us to go back into that heart music until the next one presents. And I'll be back at the end. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Today, on this episode of News from the Heart, I bring Alone Together, the global loneliness epidemic. Lonely? You're not alone. Ironically, in a world more connected than ever, we are all so lonelier than ever. So much so that the World Health Organization has officially declared loneliness a global public health concern. Yep, you heard right. This isn't just a few lonely Friday nights, it's a crisis affecting our mental health, our bodies, and even our lifespan. So, today on News from the Heart, we're diving into the loneliness epidemic. Why is it happening? Who's most affected? And most importantly, how do we fight back? Buckle up, because this conversation might just change the way you live your life. All right, let's hit you with some numbers that'll make you rethink your social life. 1 in 4 adults report feeling lonely most or all of the time. Studies show that loneliness is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And this is chronic loneliness increases your risk of dementia by 50% and heart disease by 29%. This isn't just an old feel lonely thing, it's a full-blown health crisis. So, how did we get here? The digital paradox. We've got social media, FaceTime, group chats, yet somehow we've never been more disconnected. Instead of real interactions, we're scrolling through highlights reels, comparing our lives to airbrush perfection and feeling even worse about ourselves. The remote work effect. Remember when working from home sounded like a dream? No commute, sweatpants all day. But guess what? Remote work has cut daily social interactions in half. That office small talk you thought was pointless, turns out it was keeping you sane. Aging and loneliness. And then their older population, millions of senior living alone, sometimes going weeks without a real conversation. This isn't just sad, it's a health hazard. Isolation is linked to higher risk of depression, anxiety, and even early deaths. Okay, so let's break this down. Why does loneliness literally harm your body? When you're lonely, your brain goes into survival mode, increasing stress hormones like cortisol. Long-term loneliness weakens your immune system, making you more prone to illness. And your sleep quality suffers, your blood pressure rises, and your risk of stroke jumps. And here's the kicker. Lonely people die younger. Harvard studies show that strong social connection can extend your lifespan by years. So yeah, loneliness isn't just an emotional struggle, it's a public health emergency. All right, so time for good news. We can fix this. The solution isn't just about having more friends. It's about real, meaningful connections. Here's how we can take action. Number 1, the 5-minute favor rule. Take 5 minutes every day to text or call someone just to check in. No agenda, no favors needed, just a hey, thinking about you. Small actions have a big impact. Number 2, join something, anything, a book club, a sports league, a community event, but put yourself in places where conversations happen. Research shows that people who join groups live longer and report higher happiness levels. Number 3, the 60-minute hey challenge. When's the last time you started a random conversation? Next time you're in line at a coffee shop or waiting for Uber, challenge yourself to say something to a stranger. A simple hey, how's your day can literally make both your days better. Number 4, rethink social media. Instead of doom scrolling, actually engage. Leave meaningful comments, voice message a friend, or crazy ideas. Schedule an in-person meetup. And lastly, volunteering. The loneliness cure no one talks about. Helping others isn't just good for them, it's a mental health game changer for you. Studies show that volunteering increases happiness and reduces loneliness. It's a win-win. So, the World Health Organization isn't just talking about this, they're taking action. Governments around the world are launching loneliness strategies to reconnect communities. Excuse me. Japan has a minister of loneliness to tackle isolation. The UK launched a campaign encouraging social interaction. Tech companies are being pushed to design platforms that promote real world connections, not just likes and shares. The point is, this is fixable, and it starts with us. So before we wrap up, I have a challenge for you. Today, reach out to one person you haven't talked to in a while, a friend, a relative, a coworker, whoever comes to mind. Just a simple, hey, how are you? Could make the world of difference. If we all do that, imagine how many people won't feel alone today. If this episode hit home for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more real talk, and remember, you're not alone. We're in this together. Until next time, keep connecting, keep reaching out, and let's fight loneliness one conversation at a time.
All right. Nice. Um, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about the polyvagal theory. And this was created by a researcher, a scientist, Stephen W. Porges or Porgs. And I'm going to share some passages from the book that he wrote with his son, Our Polyvagal World. In my studies, I've learned a lot about something called the vagus nerve, which is a lot of people associate that with like a spiritual part of our physical form. Sort of like you might envision the third eye concept. So the polyvagal nerve is a nerve that reaches from the back of your head, your brain stem, straight down your spine to your tailbone. This particular nerve is really in touch with the whole body. And if you think about nerves, the idea that there is like signals being sent through the nerves in order to move your muscles, and in order to blink, in order to talk. Something I found interesting was the word vagal is kind of coming from, consider the word vagabond, someone who's traveling, like making moves, distance. So the idea of a vagal nerve that is reaching or journeying through all parts of our body. Some parts of it are automatic, right? We don't even have to think about breathing or blinking or swallowing, unless we do start thinking about it. And then other things, right? Like if I want to get dressed and walk out the door, that requires a bit more intentional thought on my part. But anyway, I'm going to share some key points from his theory, and maybe you might learn something cool from it. First of all, when we feel safe, our bodies transform in a way that optimizes us for social connectedness, health, growth, and restoration. This is the healing state of homeostasis. When we feel unsafe, threatened, dysregulated, our bodies respond by activating defensive systems that optimize us for immediate survival at the cost of our ability to heal, grow, and restore. There's a lot of discussion about how to make, for example, schools a safer space for students, for teachers, for families as a whole, so that students are more likely to be in their regulated state of homeostasis and are much more able to create and learn and grow without having to feel threatened or unsafe, either at an emotional level, psychological, or at a physiological level, like bodies on alert. When we feel unsafe, our bodies will instinctively do whatever it takes to end these feelings. You might think of the fight, flight, or freeze. When we are deprived of opportunities to feel safe, our mental and physical health suffers. In the modern world, many people are almost entirely deprived of opportunities to feel safe. And that manifests as anxiety, trauma, stress, unchecked emotions, aggression, violence, poor health, or dis-ease. Whether we feel safe or unsafe, our bodies telegraph these feelings to those around us, including our children. So you might even be able to tell from someone's body language, right? If they're on alert, if they're not feeling like calm, cool, and collected, you can pretty much immediately tell. And that kind of messages our physical form to be, oh, that person's on edge. I wonder why. Is there something in the environment? Is there a reason I should be like more on guard with this person? So thinking about how our energy and what we output really does impact the people around us. We often mirror the feelings and states of those around us. And likewise, those around us mirror whatever feelings and states we project. You might consider that to be like an autonomic echo chamber. Autonomic essentially meaning automatic. I envision just all this energy waves bouncing around and how a group of people can immediately become like very distressed and fearful simply because like one person is feeling that way, right? It's kind of like a huge sweep across the group. So there's this idea of neuroception. It's an automatic process driven by external cues of threat or safety, and it is outside our conscious control. However, we can be informed by our reactions to it and use our knowledge about what makes us feel safe or unsafe to navigate the world around us. So consider the word perception, right? When you're perceiving a situation, perceiving your surroundings, there's this idea of neuroception, like at the nerve level, at a much smaller scale, our body can also sense threat or safety. That could be simply by the surroundings feeling a little off. That could be certain sounds that you hear in your environment, whether it be honestly like loud noises, fireworks, gunshots, big explosions, but also consider music and birds chirping and singing. Like that also instills some feelings of safety. So neuroception is pretty neutral in that way. It's just perceiving the environment at a much smaller scale. Trauma is not just psychological, it is physiological and can cause real changes in the body. All of us have different levels of resilience. The same event may prove deeply traumatic for one person while barely impacting another. I kind of like to say there's no such thing as the trauma Olympics, right? Like there's no need to compete. My suffering is worse than yours, and therefore I should be blank. Everyone's experience is relative. And just like this book says, if two people experience the same event at the same time, they might have vastly different reactions to it. Many mental and physical health diagnoses are characterized by a nervous system that is biased towards feeling unsafe. Many people assume that we respond to threats by running, fleeing, or fighting. In truth, when our bodies feel threatened, we sometimes respond by freezing, dissociating, shutting down. And that response is autonomic, aka automatic, and outside of our conscious control. Feeling safe is necessary for living a good life and bonding with others. Feeling safe can support therapeutic interventions in mental and physical health by putting the body into a state that's primed for healing. When we feel threatened, we have a difficult time transmitting feelings of safety to others. So when other people come off as threatening to us, it's often because they themselves do not feel safe. And we respond to threatening others in ways that only make them feel more threatened and more likely to lash out in return. It's kind of like that echo chamber, back and forth, like you are just increasing each other's reaction. Through the neuroception, you might not even fully understand what's going on, right? But your body's picking up on these cues, on these energy signals. I want to go back to the part that I mentioned about the freeze. There's some controversy when it comes to people who have experienced this automatic freeze response. This idea that why didn't you fight back? A lot of victim blaming. Why didn't you do something about it? Why didn't you scream for help? Why didn't you run? Why did you just let it happen? This book is really trying to, or this theory is really trying to share and uplift people who have had that experience, that freeze reaction. It is a very natural way for the body to respond to trauma, to danger. Think of animals in nature playing dead, quote unquote, in order to increase their chance of survival. So when you think about court cases and juries and judgment from communities, from families and friends, about whatever experience you may have had, that freeze response, that quote unquote doing nothing, was one way that you were trying to protect yourself. Again, the book is called Our Polyvagal World. I have a few more points and then I'll close. So the vagus plugs into the part of the brainstem that controls social behaviors, like verbalizing, vocalizations, facial expressions, and our ability to listen to speech, particularly human speech. So as a result, we can only access some social behaviors when we feel safe. And isn't it interesting that when we engage in positive social behaviors, when we have a meal with others, when we create together, when we play together, adventure together, even like sleep together, that promotes health and wellness. And when we do not feel safe, it is very difficult to form an emotional bond with another person. Safe social behavior effectively acts as a trigger for our vagus nerve, and it calms us down and helps us to regulate ourselves. That's why there's such a thing as co-regulation, this idea that you can regulate another person simply by also being safe around them. Consider a parent figure, a teacher, a guardian that is comforting a child that's, in a tantrum mode, is scared. That's their warm and calm energy is co-regulation for the young person. You can do that with friends when they're grieving too, right? Holding someone, using soft language, helping them to just breathe. You are co-regulating, and that's such a beautiful thing that humans can do. I think something that might be relevant to the time now, when people don't feel safe, they can't access the higher brain functions required for critical thinking, right? Remember the students in a school feeling super unsafe, it's hard for them to learn. So this offers an explanation for why politicians and media figures often try to make people feel unsafe. There's all this like misinformation in the news, all of this scandal and controversy and just harsh language. That is a lot of this idea of like fear mongering, I believe, right? Like trying to instill fear in people, because when they feel fearful, they don't feel safe. And when they don't feel safe, they can't think critically and make educated decisions. They're acting from a state of fear. So that it promotes violence, that promotes, unhealthy social behavior, aggression, even isolation. So finally, the act of play can be viewed as a neural exercise that allows us to practice this kind of flowing from all these states, from maybe a bit more aware on edge to more calm. It is not always a bad thing to go into the fight or flight mode. The idea is to practice going back and forth and being able to regulate yourself um, appropriately, so that overall you can be more creative, that you can produce, so that you can be happier. I know that was a lot of information all at once. And again, it's all connected to the polyvagal nerve in our body. And finally, the breath. That's why I kind of led us a bit through the meditation. I learned in this book that the longer you extend your exhale, the more likely you are to regulate yourself, right? If you're panicked and nervous, notice you have like this short, they're like hyperventilating essentially, right? Imagine if you're having a panic or anxiety attack, you're like, versus nice and slow and long. Again, cueing your body to regulate itself. We have so much power in the breath. And I know it's maybe repeated over and over and over, but consider how that you can use that natural tool to work for you. And I will close it there. Again, Our Polyvagal World, How Safety and Trauma Change Us by Stephen W. Porges. I'll put it in the chat so you have the spelling too. Thanks for hearing me out.
Hi. Oh wait. Okay. So I'll be sharing like a quick slide on just women's history. It's very short. Oh, let me see. Sharing is not turned on. Oh, okay. So this is the slide. Let me make sure I make it right. So this is a little bit on Women's History Month. So basically the origins of Women's History Month date back to 1978 in Santa Rosa, California, when the Education Task Force of Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women planned a Women's History Week celebration during the week of March 8 to correspond with International Women's Day. And then in 1987, Congress passed Pub L 109, which proclaimed March 1987 as Women's History Month. So it took them some time to get it passed. And then some important women in US history. Obviously, there's a lot more women that's important in US history, but these are some that I'm going to highlight. So we have Harriet Tubman. She was around from 1820 to 1913. Harriet Tubman was a true American hero who led slaves to safety via the Underground Railroad. From 1850 to 1860, she made about 19 trips from the south to the north to free more than 300 people. And Harriet Tubman lived a long life. She was around 93 years old at her death in 1913. Now we have Maya Angelou from 1928 to 2014. From her powerful poetry to her moving autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Angelou forever changed the literary word and opened doors for Black authors everywhere. She was also an actor, singer, screenwriter, and civil rights activist. Toni Morrison. 1931 to 2019. She became the first Black woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1993. She published a total of 11 novels throughout her career, as well as a collection of plays, short stories, and nonfiction. Some of her works include Beloved and The Bluest Eye. Next, we have Ruth Bader Ginsburg, 1933 to 2020. She made history as the first Jewish woman to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Her entire career was highlighted with pivotal moments in American history, and she was always championing for gender equality and civil rights. She helped pass historic rulings on topics ranging from the Affordable Care Act to the legalization of same-sex marriage before her death at age 87. And then lastly, more modern times, also Sonia Sotomayor, 1954 to present. In 2009, Sonia Sotomayor broke boundaries by becoming the first Latina and the third woman to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States, the highest court in the country. She has been an advocate for gender equality and civil rights. Final remarks: women should be celebrated every day. They have sacrificed so much since the beginning of time, yet they barely get recognition for all their efforts. And don't forget to call, text, email, or however you want to reach out to women in your life and tell them how much you appreciate them. But yeah, those are only some women. There's so many women out there. But I tried to highlight a mix of like women of color and then more modern women as well. Thank you.
Ah, I felt it all from the heart. Thank you. Thank each of you for just sharing with us today so much important news, inspiration, information. You do not have to be alone. There are things you can do so that you don't feel lonely. Loneliness will kill you. What's interesting is that being lonely is not about being by yourself, because you can be in a group and still be lonely. You can have 1,000 social media friends and still be lonely. Right, Vatina? Thank you for sharing. You told us to connect in a meaningful way. Take a few minutes to just connect with someone with no agenda. We can volunteer. That really helps us to feel better about ourselves. And join a group. Find your tribe. Find those people that speak to you. Brenda, I think it was just so appropriate as you followed Vatina, talking about the polyvagal theory. And it really spoke to me and some things that I'm just experiencing in my life, and how it's so important to feel safe, not only for children, but for all of us. And in the world that we're living in right now, as I shared earlier, it doesn't feel safe for so many people, for minorities, for immigrants, for people living on the margins, those who are facing homeless insecurity, and those even who have had good jobs for years. working for the government. Suddenly, it doesn't feel safe anymore. Psychological warfare, creating fear and tension and anxiety to break us down. But there are things we can do, simple things that can make a difference. Thank you so much. And Nadia, for closing this segment out, just reminding us of the trailblazing women who came of age in a world where they didn't feel safe either. Where for women, it was often a hostile place. But they carved out spaces, not just for themselves, but for other women and men and children to feel safe. They created poetry and was instrumental in passing laws and upholding legislation and creating a world where we could find hope in unsafe times and unsafe places. Thank each of you so much. Thank you, Wesley, for just being the music, the soundtrack of our News from the Heart. I'm going to just share a couple of these affirmations. We're going to do our announcements, and we'll be out of here. I think I sent the long list, so I'm going to do the short list, okay? I am valued exactly as I am. I am grateful for the changing of the seasons and the changes in my life. I am in tune with my innermost feelings. I am comfortable with who I am. I am confident in the path I am walking. And as always, I am anchored in love. All right, we're going to share our announcements. And just quickly, next Sunday, the 23rd, is our fourth Sunday. That's our Women's Rescue Missionary Union service. And it's also our annual Women's Day service. We're going to have one service that's Sunday morning. And we're going to, the title of that service is Speak Their Names. Women's History Month celebration. We're going to speak the names of the women of Triumph and the women in your lives. So come with your list of the names of the women who impacted you. We're going to speak their names, pour out libations, and just honor them. That will be our service next Sunday as we dedicate it to the women in Triumph and the women in our lives, past and present. On Thursday, the 27th, Brenda is back with Art and Soul. That's going to be virtual live on YouTube from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Join us. You can find the previous sessions on our YouTube channel, Triumph Life Center. Brenda, anything you want to add on the Art and Soul for this month?
It's going to be spring themed because it's springtime.
I think it's in the air.
All you need to bring is pen and paper, but feel free to bring additional art supplies. We'd love to have you. It's a good time. It's a good vibe. And it's important to invest in your creative health. Because again, like I mentioned, that is one way that you make yourself, literally can make yourself feel safe so that you can enjoy your life a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to say that one of the tips that Vatina gave in terms of not being caught up in this epidemic of loneliness is connect with the group. This is an excellent group to connect with. Once a month, Art and Soul with Brenda live. You can come into the YouTube in the Zoom room. You can just watch it on YouTube. An excellent way to get out of that alone space and connect. Another way that Vatina had suggested was to volunteer. And so you can also volunteer here with us at Triumph. You can reach out to us at triumphlifecenter@gmail.com. We would love to have you. I'm sure there's something here that you can do. Bring your talents, your gifts, your curiosity, your excitement, your energy, and your willingness to just connect with people that's a diverse group. And we will welcome you here. We also I want to take a moment and just thank those that support us financially throughout the year. I want to give a shout out to Evangelist Renee Howard, who was with us last year. If y'all recall, she was our speaker last year for our Women's Day service in the afternoon. I want to just send a shout out to her for giving us a generous donation this past week for our women's work. We just want to thank you. We appreciate you and just supporting us through the years. She is a daughter of Triumph, and I'm thankful that you've never forgotten your roots. Whether it's a great, big gift or small gift, every gift is important, and we appreciate you, each of you, that support us through your financial gifts, through your support of participating in our services, sharing our links, letting others know that we are here. As we prepare to close, I want to just thank everyone for being here with us today. Remember, as we go on our way this week, the world is a noisy, busy, chaotic place right now. And as we shared, it doesn't feel safe, but we can change that. We can collectively, as Brenda said to us, we can collectively begin to mirror out to others the world we want to see. We can carry with us that safe net within us and allow that safety net to vibrate out so others can feel that energy that we bring. So when we show up, we don't show up with fear. And it's not to say that the world is not at times a fearful place, but we can choose to respond in a different way, right? We can choose to show up with an energy that says, I bring peace, I come in love, I come bringing joy, I come not with all the answers, but I come knowing that there's a power greater than myself. And I'm grounded in Mother Earth, and that she holds us, she loves us, she cares for us, and we are safe. I'm going to close here. I'm going to ask Wesley to just take us away. I bless you throughout your week. Be blessed, be joyful, be safe, but above all, be loved. We'll see you next week here at Triumph.
What the world needs. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing left. There's just too little love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. And no, not just for some, but for everyone. Oh Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last till the end of time.